Vikes on three! 1, 2, 3, Vikes!
Welcome to VI Sports, a show that goes beyond the scoreboard, bringing you stories from across the Vancouver Island sports scene. I'm Kevin Chirac, and today we're hosting at Wallace Field, where the UVIC men's rugby team is taking on the Capilano Rugby Club. We'll bring you highlights and interviews from throughout today's game, but first, let's check out what's on tap for this edition of VI Sports. On today's show, we learn about the rising sport of rugby sevens from the Canadian women's national team. We then head to the ice to get up close and personal with Victoria Royal's all-time leading scorer. Also a trip to Nanaimo to meet an inspiring hockey player facing the biggest battle of his life. And we profile Victoria's own Sarah Kaufman as she prepares to get back in the octagon for UFC 186. Before we get to those stories, earlier today we sat down with fifth-year player and captain Dustin Dobravsky as he reflects on playing his last few games in a Vikes uniform.
Oh, 5 years summing up. I mean, it's just the best. The friends I've made over the 5 years and the rugby I've played has just been crazy. I mean, it's not just a sport, it's the family that you make on the way as well. So it's been amazing, yeah.
So what type of impact did head coach Doug Tate have on you over the years?
Self-independence is one of the biggest things he teaches us. For example, in our warm-ups before games, he's not even dealing with us. He's teaching us to make sure that we're warming up on our own. Within the team, of course, but there are certain leaders in the team that lead the warm-ups.
So any nicknames at all? I know you're German, they probably play around with that a little bit.
Yeah, I have a couple nicknames. I have Dirk is a big nickname I have because of Dirk Nowitzki. I'm the basketball player, being the pride of Germany. And then just from our rugby tour that we had with the Vikes to Germany as well. Bundesliga, we went to a soccer game, so Bundesliga is my new nickname. To Germans it doesn't mean anything, but to us it's hilarious.
It's a funny name, funny word.
Yeah, exactly.
You're in your last year. Are you getting to a point where you're kind of reflecting back, you know, over the years of your time spent with the team?
There was actually a pretty crazy moment in the National Sevens tournament. Before the final we were talking about that 5 of the 12 players in the team are graduating, and that there's a lot on the line for the players. So after that tournament, it was definitely a reflective moment for a bunch of us. Just that's the last time we're going to play sevens together, which is just over the 5 years it's added up and it's changed us, and it's just a huge part of us.
What's life like after Vikes Rugby? What's next for you?
That's a good question. I'm in the business program, so I have to take full courses during the summer now. I'm graduating in August, and then it's the working life. Of course, rugby is always a part of it, and I still want to play rugby just to have the work-life balance. But the location, for example, is still pretty uncertain of where life will take me.
Beside me is a man who got to know Dustin quite well over the years, head coach Doug Tate. Now, Doug, in our interview with Dustin, we spoke about how rugby here at UVIC kind of impacted him over the years. Let's flip it on you. How has Dustin impacted rugby here at UVIC over the years?
Well, I mean, Dustin came from Shawnigan Lake School, you know, and he had a kind of a big rugby background and played some in Hamburg because he's from Germany, right? So coming over and being one of the top players at Shawnigan, he's been really solid through, you know, the last 4 years here. And Dustin's not only been a big impact on the field, but off the field also.
Now, for the viewer at home, can you give us a breakdown of the season so far and what you're looking forward to for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're kind of, today is a big game against the Caps. I think it's going to determine who's going to get a home field advantage in the playoffs. We're trying to win the league. So as a result, you know, we're basically, we've only lost 2 games, both to UBC, who are right behind us in the standings. So today is a big one. If we can win today, we can maybe win the league, which gives us a home game on April 25th, which is just after exams. So it really comes down to a semifinal and final that are in late April and early May.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck today and for the rest of the season.
Okay, thanks very much.
Now, for our first story, we're sticking with the rugby theme as I recently attended a practice for the Canadian National Women's Rugby Sevens team. I learned all about the sport. Check it out. At Canadian Women's Rugby Sevens practice,
You just go, go, go.
The action
Sevens is such a fast-paced game.
never stops.
It's a really spectator-friendly sport.
It's an adaptation from traditional rugby.
15s are playing 80-minute games versus 7s are playing 14-minute games.
Games are shorter than a hockey intermission, but as many as 3 are played in one day. It's the beach volleyball to indoor volleyball. And these women are the Canadian pioneers of their sport, as Rugby Sevens is set to make its Olympic debut in Rio 2016.
I think it's going to be the biggest sport at this upcoming Olympics.
It's a game where you could be up winning by, 14, 21 points, and the other team comes back, and it's constantly like a ping pong match kind of deal, right?
Tackle! Good! Battle!
Head coach and former rugby pro player John Tate says the traditional game was altered with the viewer in mind.
If you want the sport to grow, you got to give the people what they want, and I think people want to see more tries scored. They want to see fast speed.
Since the Olympics announcement in 2009, women's rugby sevens has taken off, with Canada emerging as a major contender in the sport, ranked number 2 in the world. They're even hosting an international event out of their rugby headquarters in Langford. The roster features women from Quebec to
I'm from Williams Lake, BC.
I'm from Lethbridge, Alberta.
all over Canada. "11 months of the year, the team is their family. The island is their home.
The majority of the year spent here. So we train 6 days a week, Monday through till Saturday.
A true test of dedication.
We don't really like the word sacrifices because we're all making the choice to be here. All the girls have either not gone to school to come out and play here or leaving loved ones. My husband's back in Lethbridge, Alberta, and he's still working out there, so we're kind of doing long distance. A couple of the other girls have partners across the country too, so in that way, we've made choices to come out here and put kind of our life on hold to pursue our dreams.
And those dreams begin in the island town of Langford, the team's training ground since 2012.
When I moved out here, I was like, this is not at all what I was expecting. It's a beautiful city, town to kind of play rugby in.
For us, it's a great privilege, and just with any privilege, comes a little bit of return pay, and that's the pay they put in being here day in, day out, year round.
Supported by Own the Podium, Sport Canada, and private funder B210, aiming to give Canada the edge in training.
It's really exciting to see where we've come from because we're very structured, we're very professional, we treat this like a professional job. It's an exciting program and it's a really cool thing to be a part of.
A team on the rise and taking their sport to the next level. Trust me, Rugby Sevens is even faster and more exciting in person, and you can check out for yourself as West Hills Stadium is going to be home to an international event April 18th and 19th. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, a profile of the Victoria Royals' all-time leading scorer. Welcome back. Now we go from the pitch to the ice, where James Green sat down with Mr. Everything for the Victoria Royals, their all-time leading scorer, Brandon McGee.
Number 18 for the Victoria Royals is right winger Brandon McGee. At 21 years of age, this goal-scoring crowd pleaser has been with the Victoria Royals since day one.
Yeah, I've been on skates probably since I was about 3 years old. I always had a backyard rink in my hometown, Edmonton. My dad always built it for me, and I pretty much had it right until I left to play in the Western League when I was 16. We were definitely a very young group here when I was 17 years old, our first year in Victoria. I think a lot of the guys have definitely matured as players and as guys off the ice.
Now, if there is any action on the ice, the creative, hard-nosed, 5'9", 185-pound Magic McGee will likely be in the middle of it all. As a co-captain on the team, he works to display true grit in every game, willing to take a tumble and on occasion catch his breath in the penalty box.
Obviously I'm a smaller guy who's got to play the game really hard, and I like to keep my feet moving when I'm on the ice all the time. And I'm not afraid to go to the dirty areas of the ice, if that's in front of the net or getting in corners and trying to come out with the puck in battles. I like to play that physical side of things too. Being a smaller guy, you got to try and stand out somehow, and trying to be a goal scorer but also an energy player at the same time is not the easiest task, but I think I manage it pretty well.
Just look at the numbers on the Victoria Royals website. Brandon brings results, having scored over 90 goals so far during his time with the Royals, and with over 200 assists.
Most nights I try not to overthink hockey. I kind of let my, my skill and I guess my hockey sense take over. I just kind of let things happen and read and react to the play, and I like to play physical, and obviously, I like to put the puck in the back of the net, and playing with two good line mates most of the time this year has definitely helped me.
Being one of the older and more experienced players on the team, he's hoping for an opportunity to join the NHL.
I went to Flames camp last summer and had a pretty good showing there, and I know the coaching staff and the scouts and stuff like me there, so hopefully I can have a good year here and just have them watch me throughout the rest of the year, and hopefully something works out at the end of the season. Obviously there's a lot of connections that you make along the way with hockey, and hopefully they can benefit me in the future.
His favourite players in the National Hockey League are Patrick Kane from the Chicago Blackhawks.
He's a smaller guy who's quick and who's got really silky hands, so I like to try and be like him every once in a while. And then a guy like Brad Marchand out of Boston, he's a smaller guy as well, and he plays the game extremely hard, and he's definitely got some talent as well and some skill to put the puck in the back of the net. So I think he's probably the one guy that replicates his game the most like mine.
Off the ice, Brandon McGee likes to go golfing and play Xbox, but he will say that during hockey season, his social life does take a back seat.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you can't be a guy who's going out to the bars every night and running wild on the city. I think being in this city, a lot of people do know who you are, being associated with the organization, and so you have to kind of keep things quiet most of the time. And obviously, it's hard to manage the social life with hockey, but if your goal is to play in the NHL, you kind of put the social life aside for the hockey season.
From the Save On Foods Memorial Centre in Victoria for Royal Blue, I'm James Green.
It's McGee's last season with the club, and what a career he's had. He will be missed. Now for our next story, we're sticking with hockey, and much like rugby, hockey is of course a very physically demanding sport. There's slashes, battles in front of the net, punches, and more. But for Ethan Brown, a hockey player out of Nanaimo, he's facing the biggest battle of his life off the ice. Tally Campbell has the story.
For most young Canadian hockey players, the dream is to play in the NHL. And for Nanaimo youth Ethan Brown, that was exactly his goal.
I wanted to play hockey, that's it, NHL.
However, on September of 2013, Ethan received a massive setback which would take him off the ice.
About September, school was just starting to go back, and Ethan and Tyson Kieran had lost my mom to brain cancer just 6 weeks earlier. And so we had seen a few of the symptoms, but the doctor just thought it was the flu. He had nausea, vomiting, dizziness, and then he had thought he'd sprained 3 of his fingers. So the next day he said, "Mom, my foot is feeling the same way as my fingers are." And so we took him into emergency, and it was not very long before we got the CT scan showing that he had brain cancer.
And from that point on, Ethan's new journey began. A journey to get him back on the ice.
Ethan made a deal with his neuro-oncologist because hockey is just that important to him. She really didn't want him to do anything. There was to be no baseball, no hockey, no reffing, nothing like that. They finally came to the conclusion that Ethan wasn't going to give up, that he wanted to play hockey. And so they determined together a safe number of where his platelets needed to be. And every week Ethan would get his blood work, and he didn't want to know what all the other numbers were. He just wanted to know if his numbers were good enough to go on the ice.
And we get up there and then we just stop.
Yeah.
Enjoy coaching?
Yeah, it's fun. Good group of kids.
Throughout the treatment, Ethan would get a little ice time as he helped coach his little brother's hockey team. But Ethan wasn't stopping until he got back on the ice playing, and finally in December of 2014, that day came.
It was absolutely elating to know that Ethan's numbers not that long ago were actually normal, like yours and my normal, really low normal, but normal. And that has allowed him to start playing the men's drop-in league. And I don't think I have seen as many smiles as in this last 2 months of him being able to play hockey Monday, Wednesday, and Friday than I did the whole course of treatment over those other months. It brings huge joy to him. It's a physical release, and he loves the camaraderie.
I was excited. Yeah, happy to be out there again, doing what I love.
For Ethan and his family, though, the journey isn't over yet. But for now, they can't thank the community enough for the support they have received.
It's actually very overwhelming. We're very quiet people. We help other people where we see a need, but we're not really a huge community network of people who have the time or ability to volunteer. And for our community to come together in such a way is absolutely phenomenal.
To help support the Brown family, visit www.youcaring.com and search Ethan Brown. In Nanaimo, I'm Tally Campbell.
Inspiring stuff. Thanks, Tally. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, more from Wallace Field, and I take a tumble with Victoria's own Sarah Kaufman. Welcome back. Now we're just about to start the second half. The Vikes lead 7-0 over the Capilano Rugby Club. And for our next story, we head to Zuma Martial Arts here in Victoria, where I sat down with the number 5 ranked UFC women's fighter in the world, Victoria's own Sarah Kaufman. This is Sarah Kaufman's paradise.
You know, I'm pretty happy once I get in the cage, almost in a weird kind of calm zen-like state.
Always training, learning, improving her trade.
You know, you've sometimes heard people being a one-trick pony. She's very good at everything.
The Victoria native began her professional MMA career in 2006, a young, wild-punching, rising star.
And it's over. We have a new bantamweight female champion.
So I'm actually trying to get back a bit of the craziness from when I was younger and maintain all the technique and the thought process that I have now.
She's climbed the ranks, captured titles, and is now considered amongst the UFC elite. But an incident in May of 2014 put her fighting career in jeopardy.
Someone ran a red light. I ended up hitting them. I walked away and was like, oh, I'll be stiff and it'll be fine. And really didn't realize how long it really would take to kind of come back from that and be able to get to full training.
Sarah was sidelined for what she called the longest 5 months of her career. But the time off allowed her to appreciate a different perspective.
Really have put more into working with the kids and trying to build up, you know, these little kids, you know, from 3 all the way up. Whereas before it was training, but I've really appreciated what I do outside of the cage a lot more now.
She's used her celebrity as a tool to help motivate and inspire, speaking for various community groups and health initiatives. She's also helped influence the rise of women in her sport.
You're seeing young girls now aspiring to be an MMA fighter or to at least get involved with MMA.
Right scoop, right kick.
She takes pride in coaching, sharing her vast knowledge of various fighting disciplines and overall passion for MMA. And if you ask and are willing, she'll happily demonstrate one of her signature moves. I'm gonna be walking funny for a little bit now. That was good though, thank you. But after time away from training, she's now fully rehabilitated, refocused, and ready.
Kind of maybe a little bit of a blessing. It kind of let her step back. We kind of talked about a lot of things we want to do for her career coming up, and I think she's more excited than she's ever been.
I think that I have so much more that I can get better at and that I can fight better at, and I feel like I have, you know, 1 fight in the bank and I have 100 left.
She's not walking into her prime. I think she's in her prime, and it's time for her to do as much damage as possible right now.
An accomplished athlete, happy with her progress, but hardly satisfied.
I don't want to just be the best. I want to be the best that I can be. And I know that's so cliche, but I really do want to unlock my full potential and fight unhindered.
It's been a long wait, but Sarah is finally getting her shot back in the octagon. UFC 186, April 25th in Montreal, as she takes on number 3 ranked Alexis Davis. Now it sounds like the game is really starting to pick up, so let's take a closer look. Dustin, 45-7 victory over Capilano. How does this bode for momentum for the club going forward into the playoffs?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it was a huge game for us. We prepared a lot. I mean, just the pressure that we had on ourselves before the game, just the expectations we wanted, we completely fulfilled it, and we're pretty happy about it. And the momentum is huge, especially going to the playoffs now.
You looked a little extra inspired today. Did it have anything to do with the pregame interview?
Quite possibly, the preparation for the game. But yeah, I mean, it was a good game. I mean, it's just a team victory. Always lucky to be at the winning end in the ending, scoring a couple of tries, but it was a team victory for sure.
How important is it to be playing this well at this time of the season?
Yeah, and I think that's what we started to go for. I mean, you start in September, and you work and work and work, and the guys are getting fitter, and it showed today. They started to move the ball. You start to play in the better weather too in April and May, and so it's a little bit easier to move the ball when it's not raining and it's wet and there's not as many breakdowns. So I thought today was a good indication that, you know, we're ready to go in the playoffs, and the defense is starting to get stiff. The guys are, you know, worked hard in the gym. So yeah, I was really impressed today.
Go, Vikes on quiet one, right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, that wraps things up here at Wallace Field. The UVIC men's rugby team victorious over the Capilano Rugby Club, 45-7. Impressive victory heading into the playoffs. Thanks so much for watching. For everyone here at VI Sports, I'm Kevin Chirac, and we'll see you next time.
I'm Brandon Angelo from Duncan, BC, Canada, and this is my GoPro close-up.